Good afternoon. Today, I want to take a moment of your time and show you how to set up a customized workspace in Adobe Illustrator, personalized to the way that you work. So currently on the screen, I have just a regular empty document open up, and I have gone to my workspace, which is right up here, and I've selected Essentials. And this should be the default view that you see when you open up. The only difference is I have turned on rulers, and I did that by hitting Command or Control R on the PC. So Command R on a Mac, Control R on a PC. So let's start customizing this workspace for how we work. And so I'm going to set this up in the way I work. And you can utilize that layout, or you can figure out how you work and open up different panels and save your own workspace. So the very first thing I want to do is I want to go up to the window in the Apple menu. So I call this the Apple menu because the Apple on Macs are up in the upper left-hand corner, and then you have menu items to the right of that. On the PC, it's just your top menu. And I'm going to go to the Apple, I'm going to go over to the right until I find Window. And I'm going to click on Window. And the very first thing I want to turn on is I want to turn on my control. And this is actually a bar that appears just above my document and just below the top of my window. So if I click that, you kind of saw that pop up after I clicked it. And you'll notice if we go back to Window, it's checked. Anything checked means it's physically opened. It's checked. And what this control bar does is it gives me access to information within a tool. So if we hit the T key on the keyboard, you'll notice that up top, we now have access to our character panel, our font style, our size, as well as basic paragraph elements and our paragraph panel. So in theory, you don't need to open up these panels on the right hand side. I keep them open just in case I forget that I can do this. So that is the purpose of the control bar. Very important to have that opened up. So we'll go back to our selection tool so I'm not accidentally typing anything all over the place. And to do that, you press V on the keyboard. So V as in Victor. And we'll get back to that. So next, what we're going to do is the Essentials workspace has these default panels. And so one of the things I want to do is I want to pull these out of this selection so that, because I don't use properties and I don't use my library. So I'm just going to click and drag these out just like that. I'm also going to drag my libraries out. And then I'm just going to click the X in the upper left-hand corner of both to close those. Next, I want to come and click on these two little arrows right here. Remember, and it comes up and it says it's going to collapse the icons. I'll collapse those icons. And then next, I want to roll over between the window I have open for this artboard and the icons. And I want to get that see my arrow turn into that icon. So my mouse arrow turn into that icon. And I want to pull this over to the right ever so slightly. And that will be important when we add new panels. I'm going to zoom back out here. And again, I'm going to go up to the window. And all the panels are in alpha order. So I'm going to just go and I'm just going to open these. So first I want a line open. And that's just going to open up a window here. I'm just going to pull that over to the side. Then I'm going to come up and I'm going to hit Window again, and I'm going to come down, and I know that I want Appearance open. I'm going to bring that and just pull that over to the side. Go to Window. I'll come down, and I know the next thing I want is Color. And Color here. So Color gives me my CMYK build, and it also gives me a color guide. So whatever color I have selected, it will give me shades and tints of the colors. I'm going to pull that over. Then I'm going to go into Window again, and I'm going to come down, and I know that the next thing I want open is, I use gradient sometimes, so we'll open up that panel. not too much in Illustrator anymore. And then window, and we'll come down to layers we already have open. The only reason it's not checked is because it's collapsed off on the right hand side. I want my links window open. So I'm gonna come there, that opened up right there, pull that over. Now the links window has actions in it as well, and I don't need actions, so I'm gonna pull the actions out. I'm gonna click on the arrow in the upper left hand corner to close it. I'm gonna zoom back out so we can see our window menu. So you're starting to see the panels I'm pulling out here. Window, and then I'm gonna come down, and I know Pathfinder's open in my align with my align panel, as is transform. So when we get to that, we don't have to check that. But I do want stroke. So I'm gonna click on stroke. And I wanna show you something with stroke. So by default, this is what the stroke panel looks like. Now, if you watch some of my other demos, you may not see some of the things that I'm showing you. So if that's the instance, you wanna come up and click on these 3 little icons or 3 little lines and do show options. And that's going to reveal the rest of the panel. So now we have a whole lot more options within this panel. So Adobe likes to hide things. It's such a big program, it has to hide things like this in these menus. So the stroke menu is relatively pales in comparison to some of the others. Links has a whole bunch of other options, and so forth and so on. So if you're missing something, make sure that you are clicking on these little they used to be called hamburger menus, these little 3 lines to get even more options. Okay, we're gonna zoom back out so we can get to window. Gonna go window, and now we want swatches, so we're gonna click on that. And just like in the links panel, I have 2 tabs that I don't use. So I don't use brushes. So I'm gonna pull that one out and close it. And I don't use symbols, so I'm gonna pull that out and close that there. But what I do is in my swatches, I do like to have that with the rest of my colors. So I'm gonna grab this window, the swatches window, and pull it up here and just drop it into that panel. And then I use swatches more than I use the other 2. So I'm just gonna pull swatches over so it's the first one here. And while I'm in the swatches, I'm going to change my fill and my stroke to none. So I'm going to take the fill is on top, so I'm just going to click the none. And then I'm going to click on my stroke, and I'm going to do none up there. And I'm going to hope and pray that that turns it into the default. It used to do it. If it doesn't, we just need to make sure we double check those. So when we're working in a file. So I'm going to go back up to window. And I'm gonna come down, and I know that I have transform open. I want transparency open though. And transparency is right now with stroke, which is fine. I think sometimes I may put it in gradient if I have gradient open, but because it seems to fit a little bit better there. So transparency and gradients together, strokes by itself. But I can't really recall. I might not even have gradient open, but I might open it when I need it. So we're gonna close that panel. Going a little back and forth, but so I already had transparency open, kind of forgot about that. Next, I need to come down and open up my character tab. Remember, we have access to the character panel at the very top of the window, but we're gonna open up character, and that opens someplace off screen. It's right up here. So we have character, paragraph, and open type. And character is another one that where you want to click the 3-line menu or button and do show options to get more options down here. And then finally, we want to make sure that we open up our glyphs panel right there. Okay, I'm going to zoom out so you can see that panel open up. So this panel contains whatever font we have chosen. It shows the complete character set. So all the characters that are available within that specific font, you can view in this window. And there are these little 2, I call them mountains because that's what it reminds me of, but you can zoom in pretty large to see the details of the font. of the characters. All right, so I think we have everything open and we're ready to move this stuff and organize this stuff over in my right-hand side of my panels. So I'm just going to click on layers to open that up because I want, like we have moved other panels into other groupings, I like to have my links with my layers. So I'm just going to pull that and put that right there. And then I'm going to collapse that. Okay. Next, I like to have my swatches and my color. I'm just going to pull that over and see how it highlights it blue. I'm going to drop that there. When we zoom in here, you can actually see the different groupings. So we can actually pull out the entire grouping like that into a separate menu bar. But I like to keep all my menus in the right-hand side. So next, I want to do Align and Pathfinder and Transform. I'm actually going to move Transform over here to the right because I use Align and Pathfinder much more often than I do Transform. And I'm going to pull that and I'm going to put that right underneath my colors. Next, I'm going to want my stroke and transparency. I'm going to take that, pull it over. It's a little repetitive at this point. Next, I'm going to do character, paragraph, and open type. So if my mouse would cooperate, bring that over. And then the last two I'm going to do is glyphs. That didn't go in, but glyphs. Come on, cooperate. Glyphs. There we go. And my appearance. And the reason I keep these two separate in their own little groups is glyphs is a massive panel. So if I'm in like, some would assume that it would go better with the type. But if I'm in my character and then I have to open this massive thing, I just like to have all this stuff in just one, no to other tab, just that one little tabbed window. And the appearance is the same thought. I will only want to see this information. I don't want to be distracted by any other information. So there are other options that you can do. Your toolbar by default is in the basic setup. If you go to Window and come down to Toolbars, you have the option of putting it into advanced mode, which gives you a lot of these other tools on here. I prefer, and I have my own personal setup with just the basic toolbars, which gets rid of a lot of those excess tools. And that's primarily because I don't use them and I can do what I need to do in the software with the basic tool set. So I leave that just like that. So now I'm happy with my setup, with my workspace. You can see that I can see all the words. Had we left this panel collapsed, so where we had it before, it would cut off all the words over here on the left-hand side. So by moving that out at the very beginning, I basically allowed so that the longest word, which is transparency, to be legible and be able to read that word without it cutting it off or anything like that. Because I want to be able to quickly look over and read the text and open it up. I'm not over here. I got the icons down. Over here, I need a little help with the words. So once we're happy with the setup, we basically just go up to where it says Essentials up in the top, come down and do New Workspace. And I'm just going to call this one Demo. And I'm going to click OK. And now you can see where it said Essentials before, it now says Demo. So what happens, what's the purpose of this? So you could create a workspace for print material. So anytime you're working on a logo or say a poster, a one-off, a poster of some sort, anything that's going to get printed, you could set up a workspace for that. If you're creating material for the web in Illustrator, you could set up a workspace that had tools that helped you better design for the web. And then as you migrate between the two types of projects, you just switch workspaces. You wouldn't have to re-pull up all your windows. So even though there are defaults right here, like there's a web default, but you may, out of this web default, you may only use a few tools that Adobe suggests that you have here. Maybe you don't like the properties panel, like I don't like the properties panel, and you want that gone. You don't want it taking up your workspace. So you can customize this web workspace and then save it as your own, and then be able to use that and be the most efficient when you're working on web projects in Illustrator. But if we go back to our demo workspace, it will, as you can see, it plops back into place. So say you're working on something, or somebody else gets on your computer and you come back to it and it just has stuff opened all over the place. You have windows kind of like in the middle of your screen. You have, you just have a ton of stuff open. You went on vacation or something, and somebody comes back in and you have this, and you open up and you're just like, oh, can't they respect my space? Well, all you have to do is come up to where it says demo in the upper left-hand corner and click and do reset demo, or reset whatever your name of the workspace is, and everything goes back to how it was. So if somebody comes in and messes on your computer, if a nosy professor or a professor gets on your computer, not a nosy professor, but a professor gets on your computer and is helping you and opens up a bunch of stuff, and you're like, damn it, man, respect my space, you can just go in and reset your workspace. So I hope this has helped you understand how workspaces work a little bit better in Illustrator, and that you can now go into Illustrator and customize your own workspace to help you work more efficiently in Adobe Illustrator. And I want to note that this can be done in all programs. So this can be done in Photoshop and InDesign with the tools that they allow to. You can create custom workspaces in those programs as well. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. And if you like this video, I'd appreciate the thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, thumbs down. And if you'd like to see more content like this, please subscribe. Click that little notification bell so you get notified when I post a new video. Thank you so much, and have a great day.